Hi everyone, welcome to Hall 2. This is our final presentation for the evening in Hall 2. We've got Ashley Budd is our next speaker, but unfortunately she can't be with us tonight. But we do have a presentation from Ashley. Ashley is an award-winning author and human behaviour scholar based out of the United States. As a military American widow, she has dedicated her personal and professional pursuits to opening dialogue in an emotionally complex scenarios, and has modelled this behaviour in the aftermath of the diving accident that claimed her husband's life in May 2018. We're so excited to be able to share this story with you. We are sad that Ashley can't make it with us tonight, but we will be presenting the presentation on her behalf. So stay with us and we'll see you after the next video.
Hey everybody, Ashley Bugge here. I apologize if you're watching this. That means that something happened and I wasn't able to attend the live conference as a speaker. So I'm hoping you're not watching this and that we're getting to chat live over this coming weekend about storytelling and the importance of storytelling in diving, in life, in all areas of communication. And this is something that's exciting to me. So I appreciate you taking the time to hear what I have to say. And again, I'm sorry that this is not a live presentation. And I'm not great at technology, so you're going to have to bear with me for 1 second. Okay. Again, I'm Ashley Bugge. Thank you again for being here and spending your time with me and at this conference. Thank you to Gareth for recognizing the importance of storytelling and human factors in general and just bringing us all together. This is an incredible community to be a part of, and I'm just really excited to share with you guys today. Storytelling is something that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm excited to share a little bit of my vision of storytelling and the importance that it brings not only to a group studying and interested in human factors, but also in the building of community. And again, just thank you for being here. I'm going to start this off by saying storytelling can be done in a number of ways. It's not necessarily about the words that you're saying, but what your audience takes away from it. And it doesn't need to be vocalized. It can be images, videos, music. Stories can be told and shared in a number of ways. That being said, it's impossible for me to speak about the power of storytelling without sharing a little bit of my own story with you. So please sit back and enjoy the next little bit. And then we will get into our discussion.
My name's Captain Brian, and I'm here with my boat Stay Gold and Morgan 36 and crew. We're setting sail in a few minutes to Honolulu, Hawaii from Gig Harbor, Washington. I'm active duty Navy, and I'm getting stationed out in Hawaii, so we thought what better way to get the boat over there than the sailor.
Brian died at 7:49 a.m. Hawaiian Standard Time on May 20th, 2018. An adventurer through and through, my husband died in a tragic scuba diving accident, only miles from where my 1- and 3-year-old children were laying on the couch next to me. He was part of a closed-circuit rebreather course, headed out on a Sunday morning to complete his training dive. I was at home on the couch with my 1- and 3-year-old next to me, 6 months pregnant with our third child, when I received a phone call that will forever shape the course of my future. Mrs. Bugge, there's been an accident on your husband's dive boat. Where are you? We're coming to get you. It was the frantic voice of the manager of the dive shop that he had gone through his training with. I sat up on the couch and said, what? No. And he said, yes, Mrs. Bugge, where are you? We're coming to get you. The next 10 minutes were flashes of grabbing snacks for the kids, finding shoes, finding clothes, finding comfort items, making phone calls, not even knowing what to say, except for there's been an accident and somebody is coming to get me. A stranger and his son showed up in my driveway and piled my 2 kids and my pregnant belly and I into the car. And we raced through the streets of Honolulu trying to get to the ER. I remember a sheriff calling on the drive there and saying, did you see Brian put his gear together? Was anyone with him? What happened? And me saying, I don't know. Is my husband alive? Is Brian breathing? And the sheriff saying, you haven't talked to the hospital yet? And me saying, no, I'm driving there right now. He said, okay, well, we'll talk when you get here. I remember telling the driver of the car to go faster, of my 1- and 3-year-old in the back, saying, Mommy, what's wrong? Mommy, why are you crying? Mommy, what's the matter? Mama, where's Dada? And just focusing on each moment of that car ride until we finally arrived in the emergency room parking lot. I remember asking this complete stranger to stay in our car with us and watch my 1- and 3-year-old while I ran into the emergency room. I remember running up to the front desk and saying, I'm Ashley Bugge. My husband was in a diving accident. He's here. Is he alive? Please tell me, is he alive? And her saying, one moment, please. And she placed a phone call. And she said, the wife of Brian Bugge is here. Can you please have somebody come out? She hung up the phone and said, somebody will be right with you. Please go down the hallway and wait in the waiting room. I hugged my pregnant belly and I walked down this hallway and turned a corner, and in front of me was Brian's dive team. 6 people I had heard names of, I'd heard stories of. I knew he'd been on grand adventures with, found octopus and found fish and found shipwrecks all outside the beaches of Honolulu. And here I was meeting them for the very first time in a hospital waiting room while my husband was on the other side of that wall. I knew the name of one of them and ran up to him and I said, Tim, what happened? He said, I don't know. I don't know. All we heard was suddenly somebody yelling, get the boat, get the boat. Another one of his dive team members chimed in and said, I was on the boat. Brian surfaced with his instructor. The instructor said, get the boat. We pulled him out of the water and I started doing CPR. And he started telling me this story and recounting his events of that morning. I knew that there was a moment on the boat in the water that morning where my husband was not breathing. At that moment, I knew it wasn't decompression sickness. It wasn't a boat accident. He hadn't lost a limb. There was a moment in time where my husband was not breathing. And from that story, I knew there was potential. I was about to find out my husband had died. I ran back to the front office desk and I said, please, I just need to know if he's breathing or not. And she said, nobody's been out to see you yet, ma'am? And I said, no. She made another phone call and she said, the wife of patient in room number 1 is here. And then she paused and she said, I mean, the one in the quiet room. And when she said quiet room, I thought, okay, maybe there's been an accident and now he's in the quiet room because he needs time to heal and he needs time to come through this. And then the double doors opened and I saw a doctor walking towards me. And I glanced to the right and I saw a security officer with her. And as soon as I saw that security officer, I knew the news I was about to receive. She didn't even have to tell me the words. I knew that she was about to tell me that my husband had died. She walked towards me and said, Mrs. Bugge? I said, yes. She said, let's go talk in a room over here. I said, no, just tell me. Just tell me, is my husband alive? Is he breathing? I just need to know. And she looked at me. She looked at my belly. She looked back at me. And she said, no, I'm really sorry. He's not. Your husband's died. And I fell to the floor. The next few moments are blurs, faded images, sounds that come in and out. But I remember sitting up and shouting, you don't understand. I need you to go back and keep trying. This is not anybody. This is my husband. This is my Brian. This is the love of my life. I need you to go back and keep trying. Brian's dive team heard the commotion and came around me. And in the hallway of this emergency room in Honolulu, Hawaii, I wept. I cried. I screamed. I panicked. His dive team surrounded me and picked me up off the floor. And I said, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I need to see him. And that doctor, the security guard, and a few members of Brian's dive team escorted me back to the quiet room. I walked down a hallway. I turned a corner. I entered a room. And I vividly remember a cart. And on that cart were some flowers, some tea, and a card that said, with our deepest sympathy. That was the first image I saw. And then I turned my head and I saw my husband. I ran towards him, my big pregnant belly, and I jumped on top of him. And I said, this isn't real. I ran my fingers across his face, through his hair. I held my cheek to his, trying to warm him back up. And I said, I need you. This can't be real. This can't be real, babe. You need to come back to me. Izzy and Hudson need you. I need you. Our unborn baby needs you. This cannot be real. I spent the next hour of my life in this room with my husband, trying to bring him back to me. Nurses came in and out. Dive team members came in and out. My one dear friend on the island finally came to the hospital and met me in that quiet room. And she said, Ash, the kids need you now. We need to go. I said, no, I can't. I'm not leaving him. I knew the moment I left that quiet room would be the last time I ever saw my husband, and I wasn't ready to let go. The nurses came in and pulled Linda out and said, "We really need her to go. We really need Brian now." Linda came back in and said, "Ash, the kids are very worried. They need their mom. You need to be strong. You need to say goodbye." I knew it was a trick. I knew Brian was an organ donor, and I knew that they needed him, and that as soon as I said okay, they were going to take him and put him in a refrigerator. I had kissed my husband's lips goodbye that morning as he left for this dive class. And now I was kissing them goodbye forever. It didn't make sense. It didn't compute. But I had to do it. I kissed Brian goodbye. And I walked back out the double doors. I walked back down that hallway. And I walked out the emergency room door into the bright Honolulu sun. None of this seemed real. This was all a nightmare. This was a terrible pregnancy dream I was having. There was no way that this was real life. But it was. There were all sorts of officials there, from the Coast Guard, the Sheriff's Department, dive team members. I remember just saying, "I need to go be with the kids. I have to go talk to the kids now." Linda drove the kids and I home. We walked in our house on Bridges Street and sat down on this red couch that we'd been cuddling on as a family the night before. And I had to tell the kids at 1 and 3 years old that their dada drank too much water that morning and that he was now going to be diving forever. A few hours later, I received a phone call. Linda said, "You really need to take this one." So I went outside and I sat on the phone with Legacy of Life Hawaii. And they said, "Your husband was an organ donor. We need to go through this process, and we need you to consent to the donation and the harvesting of his organs." And for the next hour of my life, I went through a list of all of Brian's organs, of his bones, of his tissue, of his skin, of his eyes. And I had to consent to somebody else receiving these if possible. At the end of that phone call, they asked me, if anything would ever potentially be used, would you want to be contacted by the potential recipient? In a rush to get off the phone, I said yes. I never would have imagined a year later, as I was preparing to fly back to Hawaii for the very first time, to reunite with Brian's dive team and to place his living wreath memorial in near the same spot that he passed away, that I would receive a letter that would again change the trajectory of the rest of my life. I went to the mailbox and opened this envelope, and inside there was a white envelope that said, "Letter from your grateful recipient." And in it, I read a letter from this woman, Alyssa, in a small town of Nebraska, who had just had ACL knee replacement surgery. She told me that my family had been the donor family to replace her ACL. She was an avid runner, an avid mountain climber, a mother of 3 young kids. And now her body contained a part of my husband's body. 2 years after I received this letter, and many, many exchanges later, Alyssa got certified to scuba dive, flew to Hawaii on the 3-year anniversary of my husband's death, and together we dove to his Living Reef Memorial together. All right, how's everyone feeling? That's a heavy story. Why am I sharing this story with you? First of all, I share stories because it makes me feel good. Especially when I share stories about Brian, I can still hear him laugh. I can still hear him smile, see him smile. And I can feel that love that we shared together. Second, I believe it's a feeling that we can all connect with. Sharing my own struggles lifts this veil of my own life. And I'm hoping it encourages others to feel comfortable to do the same. It's really hard to share stories of tragedy or of loss, of hard times. But opening up ourselves in this capacity creates an environment for other people to do the same. And it's a way for us to connect and learn from each other, and that's what's important to me. Storytelling is a form of connection. It's sharing a part of your own experience while inviting others to do the same. It's taking something from ourselves. It could be experience, education, knowledge, power, and then it inserts life into it. Some of you might have seen the documentary If Only, which Gareth and I released last year. And if you haven't, go visit thehumandiver.com after this presentation and watch it. It shares the story of Brian's death, but through the lens of human factors. And in my telling you the personal side of this story, I've inserted Brian back into it. It's no longer just a look at the facts that happened, the events that happened surrounding it. But I've now told you the story of the person he was, and of the people that have been impacted by that story. Storytelling and sharing these moments with the world is the only reason this film exists. Soon after Brian died, I published accounts of his accident. I published reports. I published what I knew, all of the information that I had, because I felt strongly that I had the power to shape and to change people just like Brian, people who just wanted to dive, people who just wanted to explore or adventure. I had this tiny bit of information that I knew that I could get out there, that others could read and potentially learn from. But I also knew that for people to be interested in this report, I needed to share the story of who Brian was, of who the person behind this report was. And that is the power of storytelling. You can share information, you can share knowledge, you can share experience, but people need to be able to connect with what it is that you're sharing. Closest to you, or you watching today, or people who might watch this in the future, now know that there was a person connected to this accident, and that person was my husband, the love of my life, the father to our 3 children, a sailor, a submariner in the US Navy, an explorer. You have the power with your own stories to do this. People want to listen, they want to learn, they want to connect. Storytelling has the power to do all of this. So what can you take away from this? You may have an intended audience for your storytelling, but the truth is, you never know how or who your stories are going to influence. Maybe you don't think your story is worth sharing. Maybe you're embarrassed by certain events or actions. Maybe you've worried you'll be found at fault. or others' visions of you will be skewed once you've shared it. The majority of you listening today are likely in the diving community, but storytelling goes beyond scary situations that have happened underwater. Sharing moments and memories from your experiences can have lasting impact on all of those around us. I want you to think of an important story somebody has told you. What stands out about it? Was it how they told it? Was it how it made you feel? Was it the story itself, or was it the impact it had on you and what still remains long after that story has been shared? You have this same power of influence. The best way to teach people is to share a personal story. How do you do this? Put yourself out there. We're at a diving conference, so let's talk diving stories. Have you ever forgot to turn your air on? Have you ever jumped into water without going through your checklist completely? Have you been diving with missing or misconfigured gear? Have you ever made an error or had a close call? These are all things that people can learn from. These are all stories that people want to hear. These are all things we can each connect with and that build community and we can all grow from. And if you're not great with words, written or spoken, share videos, share photos, share music. These are all things we can connect with on a human level. They're all things that manage to tell a story in some way. Those from the US, who remembers where you were on the morning of September 11th, 2001? Who sees an image like this and is transported back to this exact moment? This image tells a story. We weren't here, and yet this photo still tells a story to us. An important one at that, and the countless lessons to be learned from this are made because people were willing to speak out about their experiences. There are 1,000 stories told in this image, and more in this. Even something like this. This is an iconic image from around the world and still tells a story. Think about the stories that you like to read, to look at, or to watch. What makes them intriguing to you? How could somebody make that error? How could they live through it? What were the ramifications? How did that impact those around them? The point is, they've taken the time to share the story, and you now have a broader perspective from seeing it. You have the ability to do this for future generations of divers or others as well. For the divers out there, think of how excited you were when you first started diving. Think of all the great things you saw, the great things you were a part of. And now think of all the experience you've gained from that moment until now. Share those experiences with others. Let the younger generations who are coming into this, where you were 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago, see all that knowledge you've soaked up in that time. So how do you do this? Write. I'm a writer. That's my go-to. There are blogs, there's websites, there's magazines. You can message each of them and ask about being a contributor. A podcast, either your own or as a guest on somebody's. Connect and network. Ask to share your story. If you would be interested in hearing the details from somebody else, the chance is good somebody else would want to hear yours as well. Think of things you wish you had known at the beginning. Think of things you're glad you know now. Think of great instructors or mentors you've had. What made them great? What stands out? How did you get to the point in your journey that you're at now? If we create a culture where stories and wisdom and guidance are passed down instead of kept under lock and key out of fear or shame or humiliation, then it's no longer a place where accidents are hidden and not discussed, but they're used as a tool for us to all learn from. We have this power, and I believe it starts with storytelling. I have one more video I'm going to share with you. And this is more just a wrap up of my personal story. I use images and video and music because those are things I connect with. Again, I think it inserts life into the story that you're trying to tell or the information you're trying to get across. So here's the rest of mine.
Do you ever have those moments in life where you're so unbelievably proud of yourself and feel guilty because you're not supposed to feel so proud of yourself for doing something or accomplishing something? The beautiful, amazing 20 kids in my team laughing and fighting and arguing and being kids. And it's Addie's first birthday. One year ago, I didn't even think I would be here today, quite honestly. And to be on this boat, it's just such a beautiful place in the world, exploring and adventuring with my 3 kids and my best friends, and getting to see a part of the world that I've never seen before. I wish Brian was here, but I'm so proud of myself for making this happen and for creating this family and for getting to celebrate these milestones and to sing Adeline happy birthday and to get to witness the arguing and the fighting and the sibling rivalry and vying for my attention. And I just feel like I've made it. Like there's these pivotal moments in your life where you know that you've made it or you feel successful. For me, this is one of them. I've created this. I've made this happen. I've created this family. And we're all here right now, Friday night. And I just am so proud and thankful and grateful for this moment in time. I've been traveling around Europe for the past 8 weeks after Brian passed away, and I've been spreading a little bit of his ashes in every body of water in every country that we've been to. So this is our 6th country that we've visited. This will be the 6th place that I've put his ashes in the ocean or a body of water, and it seems appropriate right now. We're off the coast of Santorini, Greece, beautiful lighthouse, crystal clear horizon, and I wish that he was here to enjoy it. So instead, I'm going to let him be a part of it.
The sun shone high those few summer days, left us in a soft, wide-eyed haze. It shone like gold. It shone like gold, but just as the moon, it shall stray. So dawn goes down today. No gold can stay. No gold can stay. What if our hard work ends in despair? What if the road won't take me there? Oh, I wish for once to stay home. What if to love me less than enough? What if I'm falling, can't bear to get up? Oh, I wish for once could take on, could stay. We're on our way through rugged land. Top of that mountain, we wanted to stand. With hearts of gold, with hearts of gold. But there is only forward, no way. Tomorrow's your hope at the end of the day.
Sorry. All right, that's it from me. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for allowing me to share my story with you guys. I hope that this encourages and inspires you to get out there and share your own story, to talk about the good, the bad, the ups and downs, the happy, the sad. And that's it. Again, thank you so much for your time. If you want to reach out to me with any questions, comments, please, you can reach me at info@ashleybugge.com or on Instagram, ashley.bugge. I would look forward to hearing from you. Thank you all so much.
Hi, everyone. Ashley's presentation is poignant, bringing to light how powerful sharing information and experiences through storytelling can be. I'd like to thank Ashley for sharing her strength, her words, and insight into storytelling, and I encourage everyone to join Ashley in creating positive change through storytelling. This was our last presentation in Hall 2 for Human Factors in Diving. Please head over to the open and closing stage to meet with Gareth Locke in the closing presentation, and that will be in approximately 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you for joining us. It's been a wonderful time hosting you in Hall 2 for Human Factors in Diving. Thank you.